First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Severe storms caused damage in Florida this morning. We'll take a look at what to expect tonight and the rest of the week.
GPD is hosting a town hall meeting tonight at 6 p.m. We'll have a preview for you live from GPD headquarters.
And the last of 5 former Marion County deputies has been indicted following a 2014 drug arrest caught on tape. Former Deputy Jesse Allen Terrell has been indicted on civil rights violations in a case where 5 officers tackled a single suspect to the ground and assaulted him. That's our top story for January 27th. I'm Marie Edinger.
And I'm Connor Ingalls. Thanks for joining us. The misconduct investigation led to the recovery of surveillance footage from a nearby building, and we caution that the portion you're about to see did capture the violent arrest.
Stop resisting! Get your hands! Stop resisting!
On August 11th, 2014, Sheriff Chris Blair suspended 5 employees without pay for what officials say was the use of excessive force during an arrest. 4 of the 5 employees resigned from the agency and later pled guilty to the charges in federal court. They await sentencing. The final employee, Jesse Terrell, was fired and is the only one who was indicted today. The indictment alleges that Terrell repeatedly struck, kneed, and kicked the victim in the head, neck, and shoulder area.
As soon as I saw this video, all 5 individuals were suspended without pay. I personally felt that their actions were egregious enough that they should never receive another dime from the Marion County taxpayers.
If convicted, Terrell faces a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison and a fine of up to $250,000. The Gainesville Police Department is going to look different in 2016.
That and more are being discussed tonight with the public. WUFT's Sydney Martin joins us now from the Gainesville Police Department. Sydney, what should residents expect to hear about tonight?
So I spoke with Gainesville Police Department spokesperson Ben Tobias today, and he told me that reorganization is going to be a main topic at the meeting tonight, along with a concern about the increase of armed robberies this past year. The Gainesville Police Department has a lot of information to give the community tonight at their town hall meeting. Tobias says they plan to discuss the reorganization of the department, and Chief Jones plans to speak about internal issues that occurred in 2015. One issue that received a lot of attention involved GPD's police captain Brian Hilmerson, who retired after an internal investigation found he had violated a city rule about sexual harassment. Another topic will be what Tobias says is an impressive reduction in juvenile arrest. He credits the disproportionate minority contact initiative that had been in place for 3 years now, and tonight they plan to share the results.
We took it head on. We figured out what the issue was, and we are so excited to show how much success this program has had so far.
The meeting will also shed light on the increase in armed robberies near the UF campus.
We did a big push in changing how we respond to robberies and how we patrol the city to try to prevent them.
Tobias plans for tonight's meeting to be like a live suggestion box, allowing residents to question officers about the department's priorities. Tonight's town hall meeting is going to start at Gainesville Police Department headquarters at 6 o'clock. It is expected to fill up, so Tobias is urging everyone to get out here early to get seats. Reporting live from Gainesville Police Department headquarters, Sydney Martin, WUFT News.
Thank you, Sydney. The Obama administration has ordered a recall on federal surplus military equipment sold to local law enforcement agencies around the country. Concerns arose over the use of military-grade equipment, so the administration decided to unwind any deals involving federal funding. Many agencies got stripped-down armored vehicles at bargain prices, like High Springs, Florida, which paid just $2,000 for a vehicle known as an MRAP. The new police chief says it wasn't expected to be recalled, but it is gone because it wasn't needed.
Well, it wasn't practical at the time because they only use it for a parade. And it stored it out back, and that's primarily where it stayed.
There was hope it might be useful for flood rescue or certain rare scenarios, but the new chief says in times of emergency it makes more sense to call the National Guard. For everyday work, they do still have a fleet of 16 police cars. Now, it didn't rain quite as much during the day as we expected, but it definitely looks like there is some on the way.
Yeah, there's been a lot of ominous clouds in the area. UF forecaster Dan Henry joins us now from the Weather Center. Dan, when can we expect that rain to come through?
Yeah, thanks, Connor. If you were up early, you might have caught some of the rain here in Gainesville, but for most of us here in Alachua County, we just missed it. We were just on the very edge of what was some heavy stuff just to our south, Marion County, Lake County, and all points to the south and the east, seeing over an inch of rain today. Here in Gainesville, we got away pretty clean, though, as far as that goes. Only 1/10 of an inch recorded at the airport and just 4 measly hundredths of an inch here on campus. And to answer your question as far as it goes for the rest of this evening, the next couple of hours look clear, and we do have relatively low chance chances, but they are there. Just a 40% chance at 8 p.m. and then through the evening here, you can see 10 to 20% chance in the overnight hours. So that is a little bit of a reprieve from what we had thought earlier. Tomorrow through Thursday, though, we do still have some chances out there, Connor.
Thanks, Dan. A strong storm, including what may have been a tornado, caused damage this morning in South Florida. So far, paramedics have treated one person for an injury, according to police in Broward County. Aerial video shows a tractor trailer on its side, a car on top of another, and trees down. The wind was so strong that, according to emergency management, it picked up a car and tossed it from the southbound lanes of the Florida Turnpike into the northbound lanes. Drivers there are being advised to avoid the turnpike while crews work to move the wrecks and debris.
So, Dan, that severe weather really did some damage in South Florida. What can we expect here in north central Florida?
Gosh, nothing like that. That's the good news there. We're going to see mostly what we call stratiform rainfall tomorrow. That's going to be that light to moderate, kind of annoying, pesky rainfall that we normally associate with a cold weather, cold season sort of event. So we do not expect a risk for thunderstorms here in North Florida. In fact, tomorrow and overnight tonight, we're expecting the southern part of the state. So we're thinking Fort Myers, Naples, West Palm Beach, and Miami. That's where we do have the chance for a few more thunderstorms this evening.
All right, Dan, thank you so much. An elementary student in Gainesville has been hospitalized after being hit by a school bus.
He was home after school riding his bike when another bus made a drop-off in the neighborhood. Maggie Lorenz joins us now. Maggie, I understand you talked to some witnesses today.
Yes, and FHP has been talking to them as well. The neighbors I spoke to would see the child day to day. Those who saw the collision are distraught over what happened, and they hope he comes home soon.
What's going through my mind is like, God, please save this child. And I was just so hurt.
Devin Crawford was riding his bike in the Tower Oaks neighborhood in Gainesville when he was struck by a school bus yesterday afternoon.
As she proceeded to continue to go, she just ran his bike over. And I mean, she drug him a little bit, and then we hollering for her to stop the bus.
The accident happened around 2:20 p.m. when the front right part of the bus hit Devin and threw him from his bike. Now, Peace showed me the places in the road where Devin was struck and hit by the bus. She said about 15 feet away from where I'm sitting, that is where the bus first made contact and dragged him all the way until he stopped in front of these potholes.
It could have been my son, because my son rides with Devin every day.
Nagenia Calvin says this is a busy street since it's right outside the entrance of the neighborhood. Peace and Calvin say they've been in contact with Devin's grandpa and other family members.
As of right now, Devin's he went through surgery last night, and he got another surgery that he's going to be, I guess, today, sometime today, but you know, he's doing okay.
The Alachua County Public School District is expressing sympathy for Devin and his family.
Obviously, this is a terrible situation. Our principal of the child's school has already been to the hospital and talked to the family.
The school district confirmed the bus was taking students home from J.J. Finley Elementary, but that Devin attends Lawton Childs Elementary. In speaking with the Highway Patrol by phone, FHP noted the child was not wearing a bike helmet. Troopers will continue to review evidence and witness statements to see if the bus driver will be charged.
Thank you, Maggie. More construction is going on in Gainesville.
And with more construction comes a decrease in trees. WFT's Sarah Gerard joins us now from the newsroom. Sarah, what's Alachua County's plan for the trees at Celebration Point?
Connor, some of Gainesville's residents are upset with construction at Celebration Point, but Alachua County plans to make up for the loss of trees by planting new ones.
I hope that some effort is made to protect permanently some of the trees that are worth saving.
The look of construction sites like Celebration Point can be startling with all the trees cleared. Developers started work on the area last year, turning 125 acres of woodland into residential and commercial space. Since then, the empty land has left people wondering how the county will replace all those trees.
And I suppose they intend to plant trees, but there'll be saplings which won't be fully grown in my lifetime, but I felt bad about seeing that.
While dump trucks and sand dominate this area of the property, Alachua County has set aside over half the proposed construction site for forest and wetland preservation.
The property is about 230 acres in total, with a large portion located within environmentally sensitive land. For what's planned here, the county minimum was to preserve 5% of the tree canopy. But with a deal on the conservation area and replanting, the county expects to have 60% of the tree canopy back in place after 20 years. County arborist Stephen Cabot says it's doable, and looks can be deceiving.
When you drive by, at a glance, it looks like the project is just 100 acres of clearing, when it's actually, they've only cleared about half of their property.
The entire project has been reviewed under the Land Development Ordinance and meets all requirements approved by the County Commission and Development Review Committee.
The project did remove some large live oaks, and the county ordinance requires those to be mitigated inch for inch. That means for every inch of trunk removed, saplings totaling that much inches must be replanted somewhere, on site or on county lands. That mitigation cost for Celebration Point is more than $250,000. Sarah Girard, WUFT News.
Thank you, Sarah. WUFT News First at 5 is just getting started. Coming up, we're just a few days away from being able to take an adventure into medieval history and fantasy.
The annual Hogtown Medieval Fair begins this weekend. WUFT consumer Ryan Roberts joins us now with more.
Marie Conrad, that's right. When we come back, we'll have a preview of the fair that has thousands flocking to Gainesville and stimulating our economy.
And then he just came right out. He wasn't waiting for nothing. He was not waiting. He wanted out.
This mom gave birth to her baby in the middle of a blizzard. Those stories and more coming up after the break.
I've got the details on when and where we can expect rain both this evening and Thursday after the break.
You're watching WUFT TV News.
Welcome back. This weekend marks the start of the 30th annual Hogtown Medieval Fair. In recent years, the fair has brought thousands of visitors and dollars to North Central Florida. So WUFT's Alexandra Go decided to take a visit to the fair and meet the fantasy fans who are bringing real money into the community.
For 2 weekends in late January and early February, Alachua County becomes a portal to a medieval world. And for the last 22 years, Linda Piper has dedicated herself to keeping the medieval magic alive year after year.
I came in on the 9th year, and it was a very small rural show.
When the medieval fair first began, it was a one-day event at the Thomas Center, drawing a crowd of no more than 3,000. 30 years later, the event spans 2 weekends at the Alachua County Fairgrounds, bringing in about 10,000 people each day. In just a few days, a trip to the Alachua County Fairgrounds will mean a step back in time, to a place where dragons, wizards, knights, and magical beasts roam the earth.
The fair keeps growing bigger and better every year.
In 1986, the fair involved
It seems we're having some technical difficulties. The fair will run this weekend through Friday through Sunday. And before you go, check our website this Friday. WUFT.org will have much more on the history of the event. And there are some new signs the housing market is catching up after the Great Recession. Home prices rose at a higher rate in November, up 5.5% over October and 5.8% compared to the previous year. That's according to a 20-city index by Standard & Poor's. 4 major U.S. cities, Dallas, Denver, San Francisco, and Portland, have fully recovered since their peak in July 2006. And Charlotte is close behind, less than 1% of its housing market. Lower mortgage rates, strong employment numbers, and limited supplies of homes on the market are continuing to fuel the housing recovery. And Ford is again recalling thousands of Ranger pickups due to concerns about airbags, this time on the driver's side. Airbags in 2004 through 2006 Rangers might explode with too much force and cause injuries. The recall covers nearly 391,000 trucks in the United States and Canada. The recall comes just days after the government announced a South Carolina man was killed in December. The airbag in his pickup truck ruptured, allowing shrapnel to fly out. The inflator used in airbags on other types of cars too, so other automakers may soon join Ford in the recall. And unfortunately, it's already that time of year to start thinking about your taxes. Filing season opened last week, and the IRS expects more than 150 million people to file returns this year. But if you're a procrastinator like me, there is some good news. This year, you'll have until Monday, April 18th to file your 2015 returns. But financial advisors say you may not be the only one who wants your return. The IRS is warning that tax thieves are trying to get your refund before you do. But you may be able to take some measures to try to protect yourself.
Well, our #1 tip is file first and beat the crooks. We've heard from people who've had it resolved as early as 3 months. We've heard from some folks who it's been over a year.
You also want to make sure that you use qualified tax preparers to protect your personal information. The IRS is working on a way to prevent the problem. And another app is making headlines this week. Word that 4 key executives are leaving Twitter sent the company's stock downward Monday. The departures from Twitter's executive leadership team included the heads of products, engineering, and media. On Monday, Twitter stock dropped more than 6% soon after the opening bell, and the news viewed by many as evidence as the company struggles. Twitter's stock has been taking a beating recently, down more than 50% in the last year. There are reports Twitter will announce 2 new board members as early as this week, as its CEO aims to restructure Twitter from the top down. So guys, with the medieval fair coming to town this weekend, have you guys been before? I personally have never even checked it out.
No, I've never been, but I was thinking about going this year.
Oh yeah, I've been a bunch of times. It's super fun. There's lots of different shows. There are like a couple rides, tons of good food.
Nice.
You seem like a turkey leg type of guy.
You're not wrong.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Well, today hasn't been the prettiest day, and we could probably end up saying the same for tomorrow.
That's right. Dan tells us we're going to want to hold on to those umbrellas for the next 24 hours. Dan, what can we expect in these next few days?
That's right, Connor. Much to my chagrin, I do have more cloudy, cool, rainy weather in the forecast for the next 24 hours. The good news is we have a beautiful weekend in store and then a big warm-up to near 80 by the middle part of next week. A lot going on in my weather forecast here. Let's take a look at radar, though. I know we've been looking like rain all day, but the thing is we're clearing out actually. For now and through the evening, I expect we're going to be a little bit more on the dry side. We bumped down the POPs, the percentage of precipitation chances here, just to 40% at 8 o'clock and then just to 10 and 20 across the board. And you'll notice the low temperatures just in the mid-50s overnight, so not quite as chilly either because that front hasn't pushed through yet. So that slow-moving front is the first of the three big things here. Rain is still possible at times through the evening and then on into Thursday. I say possible, though, not expected, so just keep your umbrella handy, but don't expect a washout. A brief cool down as that front pushes through Friday and Saturday. No frost or freeze, maybe along the I-10 corridor. We could get some patchy frost on Saturday morning, but then a prolonged warm-up Sunday through Tuesday, looking beautiful then into next week. Here's your future track solution, just scattered little popcorn on the radar here, and I expect overnight just a real brief shower, except along the I-10 corridor in areas a little further to the west. Maybe Cedar Key gets a downpour, but in Gainesville here, we're getting a little bit better idea that after about 9 or 10 o'clock, we likely see periods of light to moderate rain. As I mentioned before, we call that stratiform rain pushing through, and then that's when the temperatures drop Thursday evening. As far as amounts, this has always been the part with this system that we had the least confidence with, but right now we're thinking about ½ an inch to an inch across North Florida, a little bit more evenly distributed maybe than we saw today. And yeah, we are going to cool off quite a bit then as the front pushes through. Not as cold as maybe some past mornings, but 41 here in Alachua County Friday morning, 62 our afternoon high Friday, so no real big dip in the temperatures, at least in the high range, 65 in Ocala, 59 over there in Cedar Key. Now, here's the broader perspective here, okay? We are in an El Nino pattern. We do expect periods of rain every 3 to 5 days on the average, but we are going to be seeing that 5-day dry spell after this front moves through. A big storm does develop in the center part of the country by February, so the rest of the month I can safely say will be mostly dry after Thursday, so for what that's worth. But you'll notice here when this jet stream gets kinked like that, when we have what looks like a southerly breeze out ahead of it, that means we're going to warm up quite a bit, and so we do expect those temperatures to be on the rebound and in a big way by the middle part of next week. So your Thursday, a few showers is pretty much the forecast, just off and on periods of rain. No thunderstorms though, and no heavy stuff like we expected or like we saw in South Florida earlier today. But here's the thing I want to watch here. We're going to keep an eye on this Saturday morning low. Okay, patchy frost is possible, but mostly in the I-10 corridor here in Alachua County. I think we're likely going to stay just warm enough to avoid that kind of thing. And then look at that Tuesday temperature. How about 79? Yeah, there's a 20% chance of a shower then. We're watching our next front then by your next Wednesday. So a lot going on, Connor and Marie.
Thanks so much, Dan. The Florida Gator basketball team took a midweek road trip to face the Vanderbilt Commodores.
And the state of Tennessee hasn't been too kind to the Gators this season. WFT sports anchor Kaylee Glider joins us now.
That's right, and if you weren't able to watch the game, you might be glad that you went to bed early. Coming up after the break, I've got you covered on the breakdown of the game and update you on the basketball roster. Stay tuned, sports is next. In case you haven't been paying attention, the Florida softball team is really good. Welcome back to sports. I'm Kaylee Glider. Last weekend, Florida became the first defending national champion in 24 years to shut out its first 3 opponents. Today, the Gators welcome the Jacksonville Dolphins for a doubleheader. I'm joined now by the softball beat reporter Fernando Hungadea. Fernie, this is the first time the Gators are playing at home. Who should Gator fans look out for leading up to today's game?
Well, Kales, the Gators are undefeated heading into this opener. With the loss of Lauren Higgard, it created some holes in the lineup and the starting rotation. But this Gator team, you know what they do. They just next man up. Janelle Whedon already has 9 RBIs on the year, and the pitching staff, which includes Delaney Gorley, Alicia Ocasio, and Kelly Barnhill, have only allowed a combined 1 run to start the year. This Gator team has really started off fast and look to continue the momentum.
Now, this isn't the first time these two teams have met. In fact, they play twice tonight. What can you tell us about the matchup?
The Gators have dominated the Dolphins in this matchup, owning a series record of 14-0. As a matter of fact, the past 5 outings, the Gators have run-ruled the Dolphins 3 times. Right now, it's the bottom of the second. The score is 0-0. Alicia Ocasio is in the circle for the Gators. And I'm reporting live from KDC Show Presley Stadium. I'm Fernando Juncadea.
Thanks, Fernando. The Florida men's basketball team revised its resume for the NCAA tournament last night with a road victory over the Georgia Bulldogs. At halftime, the Gators sat with just 19 points to their name with a 6-point deficit. The outcome was looking bleak for Florida. Freshman Kayvon Allen had a different agenda, scoring 14 points in the second half. John Igbunu joined Allen in double figures, but they were the only 2 on the night, with the rest of the team struggling offensively. But Florida muzzled the Bulldogs, who shot 32.3% from the field. This win now puts the Gators tied for second with South Carolina and Texas A&M. The Gators will head to Columbia for a high noon matchup against the Gamecocks on Saturday. The Florida women's basketball team will be at home tomorrow to participate in the Play for K series, honoring North Carolina State's head coach Kay Yow. Florida enters Thursday's game tied for 5th in the SEC after falling to Auburn. Head coach Amanda Butler knows that this week's game against Vanderbilt isn't going to be one to overlook.
We've got to make sure that we're emphasizing the right things over the next 3 days, that being including today, going into Thursday's matchup, because Vanderbilt is another team that is going to put you on your back if you don't play well.
The Gators have just 4 regular season games left, with just 2 at home. Game time from the O'Connell Center is 7 p.m. The Florida swimming and diving teams are in Columbia, Missouri, competing at the week-long SEC championships. The Gators aren't holding anything back. After day 1, there were 3 SEC championship titles earned and 2 school records broken. Day 2 hasn't changed much. Caleb Dressel, the sophomore competing in the 50-yard freestyle, broke the SEC, NCAA, and American records with a time of 18.39 seconds. Action continues later tonight, and you can see some on the Watch ESPN app. Spring has really sprung. Well, not really, but it's getting closer. Just a few Major League Baseball teams are preparing for spring training. One team that took advantage of the great blue skies of Florida is the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pirates are in Bradenton, Florida, preparing on the road to the World Series. This week just allows for pitchers and catchers to work out, with next week including the full squad. Other teams who are already in this Sunshine State include the Phillies and Red Sox. The first of the spring training games begin on March 1st. And in other news, the Trenton Tigers are competing in the Class 1A state finals in girls basketball, and they are currently down 27-12.
Yeah, it's surprising they're undefeated on the season. Hopefully they can pull it out.
Thanks, Kaylee. All right, before we go, let's get one last check on the weather.
Here's Amanda.
Some nice weather in store for us here in North Florida. I'm talking 5 of the next 6 days will be in the 70s, and then Tuesday comes and I am watching another front that will be making its way through the area. So certainly enjoy this weekend. I think it will be the warmest and the driest weekend we have had so far this year. Certainly get outside and enjoy it. Back to you.
Thank you, Amanda. We'll be back tomorrow at 5, but your Florida news is always on at WUFT.org.
Here on WUFT TV, BBC World News is up next, and the PBS NewsHour is coming up at 7 o'clock. Have a good night.